You got guys that punch hard and hit hard, and you got guys that come out and win a few rounds. But nothing really was tough.
Okay. A lot of people are saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight.
So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Andrzej Kabiel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Floyd Mayweather thinks fans are too quick to label fighters as legends without seeing the full picture. He questions whether Oleksandr Usyk really deserves all the praise. Floyd constantly reminds people that he's the greatest of all time, and he includes Usyk in the list of fighters he thinks don't measure up. According to Floyd, no one before or after him has done what he's done. While many fans see Usyk as an all-time great, Floyd disagrees. He believes Usyk is talented, but not on his level. Mayweather retired undefeated, made history across weight, divisions, and ruled the sport for years. In his eyes, the opponents Usyk beat weren't nearly as tough as the ones he faced. To Floyd, Usyk is overrated both in skill and legacy.
At the end of the day, I'll let you know. There's no fighter that will ever be better than me. There's no fighter that wasn't better than me before me or after me or when I'm long gone. I'm the best.
Critics like Showbiz the Adult also challenge the growing praise surrounding Usyk. While many fans see him as a heavyweight legend, Showbiz questions whether Usyk's opponents were truly elite. His main argument is about the quality of competition. If Usyk's victories came against fighters who were past their prime or never top tier, it weakens his legacy. Aside from Tyson Fury, few of Usyk's opponents are considered great fighters. That makes it hard to place him in the same league as icons like Muhammad Ali or Evander Holyfield.
Saying that Usyk heavyweight run isn't a lot of fighters at heavyweight, of course, because he only fought, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters at heavyweight. But they saying that it's full of quality, right? I want you to understand, full of quality. Witherspoon isn't an all-time great heavyweight. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, you can argue. But Chad Witherspoon, no. Derek Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. He's a fantastic competitor, but if you look at who he fought and look at who he lost to, Chisora is not an all-time great heavyweight. He's not. Dubois is not yet an all-time great heavyweight. Look at who he fought, who he struggled with, who he lost to. Dubois is not an all-time great heavyweight. So we're left with, when you say quality, we're left with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Anthony AJ Joshua. Now, if you guys think that AJ is an all-time great heavyweight, you can. I can understand that. I definitely can. There's an argument to be made. But Anthony Joshua, when you think about him and a lot of ops from other great heavyweights, Anthony Joshua lost to the likes of Ruiz, been knocked out by Ruiz, was knocked out by Dubois. Anthony Joshua, I'm not sure if you would consider him an all-time great heavyweight, but you can make an argument. Tyson Fury definitely can. So beating Tyson Fury twice is really Usyk's claim to fame. It's his thing. And
some analysts offer a different take, saying Usyk should be judged more by pound-for-pound standards than by heavyweight history. They view him as a technical genius with great footwork, defense, and ring IQ. He's a modern-day master, they say, but not necessarily an all-time heavyweight legend. His greatness, in their eyes, comes more from his unique style than from beating legendary opponents. That's why they rank him among today's best fighters, but hesitate to put him on the all-time great list.
But let's talk about Usyk. His performance was okay, that's number one. And many of you say, well, Usyk is a top 10 all-time great heavyweight. I don't agree, because Usyk has only had like 7 heavyweight fights. It's very stacked within those 7 fights, but really it's hard to put him past people who's had 30 plus, 40 plus fights and just had a great all-time career at heavyweight. But what I can say is that Oleksandr Usyk is one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound, ever. And I put him on my Mount Rushmore today. So I don't have him as an all-time great heavyweight, but I do have as an all-time great pound-for-pound fighter. And where do I put him there? Pretty damn.
Critics also note that Usyk's wins often come not because he's unbeatable, but because his opponents didn't use their skills properly. Some of them fought him more than once yet still couldn't figure him out. Analysts suggest that fighters like Michael Hunter or Joe Joyce, who showed better strategy and awareness, might have given Usyk more trouble. They say few heavyweights train for movement and timing like Usyk's. Many opponents enter the ring without a solid game plan, which makes it easier for Usyk to dominate.
A bit harsh on Daniel Dubois after the fight. And I actually think I'm, being fair in being a bit harsh on him. I think Daniel Dubois is an exceptional fighter. But there is something, where it's a confidence thing. And I think Oleksandr Usyk, give him a lot of credit. His jab looked exceptional, on Saturday. And really that first, jab that landed on Daniel Dubois, it snapped his head back, and it was a powerful jab. It actually reminded me of, Artur Beterbiev's jab when it's, when he really snaps it. And it was obviously a very powerful shot. So I think Daniel Dubois, he was confused by Usyk, and I think, he just looked so discouraged to me. Again, take nothing away from Oleksandr Usyk. I thought it was an exceptional performance. And to be honest, he really didn't even get out of second gear. And he didn't even need to. Now, obviously, there's a lot of, talk about what he's going to do next. In my opinion, really, there's only one fight that I would actually want to see. For me, that's Adrian Caballel. I think Adrian Caballel is someone that, number one, knows how to go to the body. I think if Oleksandr Usyk does have a weakness, it is the body. I think, Adrian Caballel can follow a disciplined game plan. I think he's had a good string of wins. And I think his stamina is very good as well. I think Oleksandr Usyk is, winning a lot of these fights based on his speed, his stamina, and his footwork. These big heavyweights like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they cannot live with the pace that Usyk is setting. Daniel Dubois was knackered after 3 rounds in that fight. Okay, so they can't live with the pace. So again, I think Oleksandr Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but you need to match him with someone that can actually match his work rate. Okay, and for me, Adrian Caballel can match his work rate. He's going to go to the body. He's going to follow a game plan.
Showbiz strongly believes it's too early to put Usyk alongside legends like Ali and Holyfield. He argues that Usyk's regime doesn't match up. The true greats aren't just talented, they've proven themselves against the best. According to Showbiz, even Usyk's top 5 opponents wouldn't make it onto Ali or Holyfield's list of toughest challengers. That highlights the difference between being great in your era and being one of the greatest of all time.
Run. I cannot put that over the likes of Evander the Real Deal Holyfield fighting and beating the likes of Riddick Bowe, beating the likes of George Foreman. When he beat George Foreman was a killer. Beating George Foreman, beating the likes of Iron Mike Tyson. He was a huge underdog there. Beating the likes of Larry Holmes, beating Michael Moorer, Evander beating Michael Dokes, if you guys know who that is and how good of a fighter he was. Evander the Real Deal Holyfield has a different brain. I cannot put Usyk with his 5 heavyweight opponents over heavyweights, great heavyweights who made careers at heavyweight. We all know what Muhammad Ali did. Muhammad Ali beat the who's who of heavyweight greats. He fought them all and he beat them. Okay. But then you have guys like Larry Holmes who have beaten the Ernie Shavers, who have beaten the Ken Nortons. You have, the likes of Jack Johnson, which when you look at his box rec, you see his record and you don't know what he had to overcome to be so great.
When Usyk fought Daniel Dubois, fans expected a competitive fight, but after the match, analysts pointed out several flaws in Dubois' game. He lacked good footwork, didn't move his head, and failed to apply steady pressure. This raised an important question. Did Usyk dominate because he's just that good, or was Dubois simply unprepared? While Usyk clearly won, some believe the fight revealed more about Dubois' weaknesses than Usyk's greatness. This led to renewed debates about the quality of Usyk's opponents.
Was very pro Dubois, and we were willing him on being a London boy and stuff like that. I thought he won the first round. Thought Usyk won the second round, but I thought there was arguments for certainly giving Dubois the third round. But you could see, even if he was in the fight, things were starting to change after the second round. Usyk just had that extra little bit of class about him.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have him for any round. I just thought Usyk was so dominant, and that jab. And I'm not no boxing expert. I'm a casual. I'm a heavyweight casual. I just love to see big heavyweights box each other and knockouts. But I just feel like Usyk just was not even out of second gear. Like
he didn't need to be.
He didn't need to be. He just had him on that jab, and he just kept plowing away. And whenever Dubois tried to land like a big
Veteran trainer Teddy Atlas gave a blunt critique of Dubois' performance. He said Dubois didn't learn from the first few rounds and failed to adapt. Atlas pointed out that Dubois didn't go to the body and had no real strategy. Instead of treating the fight like a tactical battle, he approached it like a regular match. That played right into Usyk's hands, allowing him to control the pace and angles. Atlas believes this proves many of Usyk's opponents aren't ready for the mental and strategic demands he brings.
That's why I still thought, with the game plan, how do you not see that and adjust 3 rounds later and do it again? But the more disturbing thing to me, Bud, was the lack of body work from Dubois. How do you not go to the body after what happened in the first fight? How do you not test that? He didn't throw one body shot, maybe until the 3rd round, and maybe he threw a couple throughout the whole entire fight, or as long as it lasted into the 5th round. That was surprising to me, and I thought they dropped the ball big time with that as well.
You know, to that point, when he did throw the one body shot, I'm not going to get deep into this because it was only one, but it almost looked like it bothered Usyk.
Right?
You know what I mean?
And it looked like very similar to the first fight, close to that belt line, right?
Yeah. But it was low. It was a little low. It was. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. But still, to your point, how do you leave that alone? And then I'm gonna early in the show when I broke down the Holloway and Poirier fight, I'm gonna go back to that real quick now. Holloway won because he won because he's great and because he's who he is and because of his makeup and his intestinal fortitude, his skills. I understand all that, but he won the way he won this fight because he had a great fight plan. To your point, to our point, Dubois had no fight plan. And to my point, I'm going to answer your question. You ask a brilliant question. See, the show was so much better with you. I'm sorry. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm not. I'm grateful for everyone, and everything the history of this show has been. But you open up conversation for me by bringing me down places that conversation needs to be opened up by asking certain things that are relevant in this sport. And what you brought up is how? And I'm going to answer that question. How do you not have a better fight plan? How do you not adjust when you made those mistakes in the 2nd and 3rd round that Dubois made, reaching in? You see the guy stepping out. You see he's setting traps. How do you not adjust to that? I'm going to answer it, bud. Part of the thing that is Dubois is that what I was explaining before about being awkward, about being, a guy that kind of like, he simply gets directed. He's the kind of guy like, you direct him, you give him more confidence, and he's going to go. And he did that. He did it in the Herjavec fight. He walked through right hands. He did it in the Joshua fight. He took charge and he caught him. He did. But you can't do that in some fights.
Usyk's win over Dubois still impressed many experts. Becoming a 3-division undisputed champion is a rare achievement, and it shows his technical brilliance. He wins not through raw power, but through precision and skill. Yet, even with all these accomplishments, some say he can't be compared to Muhammad Ali. Ali's influence stretched beyond the ring. His legendary fights, cultural impact, and iconic status make him stand alone. Usyk may be one of today's greats, but Ali remains in a class of his own.
Oleksandr Usyk just knocked out Daniel Dubois in the 5th round.
Oleksandr Usyk at his scintillating best with a left counter to the chin. And it was good night for Daniel Dubois. And all rise for the brilliance of Oleksandr Usyk.
Man, I can't lie to you, bro. That overhand left is different. Is different. He put it right on the... that's taking you out, bro. You're cooked. I'm not gonna lie, man. When it comes to heavyweight fighters, you have to put Oleksandr Usyk. He's top 10, bro. It might be crazy to say he top 5, but you gotta look at what he's doing. Bro, when it comes to heavyweights, bro, he's different. He's different. It's just simple and plain. After this performance, where do you guys rank Usyk all time? Of just strictly heavyweights. When it comes to heavyweights, where do you guys rank him all time? I'm not gonna lie, he's gotta be top 10.
Boxing fans often debate who would win in a fantasy matchup between Oli and Usyk. Some argue that Usyk's southpaw stance, tricky angles, and sharp ring IQ would trouble even a prime Oli. They say his discipline and technique might outsmart the legend, though this is still a minority view. It shows how highly some fans regard Usyk's intelligence in the ring. However, others argue that Oli's ability to adapt and his fighting spirit would eventually overpower Usyk, especially in the later rounds. The clash in styles makes this a never-ending fantasy discussion.
We've got to have an awkward conversation. Prime Muhammad Ali versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who wins this fight? The tale of the tape, both men are pretty much just about the same. Not entirely sure on the birthday thing though. Someone can go and fact check that one. And Usyk did actually weigh heavier than 220 pounds when he fought Daniel Dubois. But regardless of that, the two absolute legends of the sport, who would win this? Now, for me, if I'm honest with you, man, this is going to be a real hot take, but I think Usyk wins this, you know. I love Muhammad Ali. He's one of my favourite boxers of all time to watch. I can still go back and watch most of his fights now and enjoy them. He was definitely ahead of his time. But when I watch Oleksandr Usyk and the way that he boxes and, you know, the way that sort of Soviet style, that Ukrainian style now, has come on over the years. And the fact that most of Muhammad Ali's opponents were of a similar size, similar weight to him, whereas Oleksandr Usyk is giving away a lot of weight against a lot of his opponents and still coming out and dominating them. I think Usyk does it. I also, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take, I do think that the current day heavyweight division is probably better than it was when Muhammad Ali was around in terms of the actual caliber of fighters. I think the fact that fighters can only really fight twice a year at max in the heavyweight division now, especially when you're at the very, very top, whereas in Muhammad Ali's age, they could genuinely fight like 5-6 times a year sometimes. I think it speaks a lot to how the sport as a whole has really come on. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. I know I'm going to get an absolute lashing for this one, but yeah, I think Oleksandr Usyk beats Muhammad Ali. I can't believe I've just said that, but hey ho, is what it is. I think Usyk's too technical, it's too good. I think he would actually knock Muhammad Ali out, especially given that Muhammad Ali had a tendency to pull backwards with his chin in the air, and I think Usyk probably finds that. Not to mention that the dimensions are pretty much the same, so Usyk isn't punching up or anything like that. Anyway, let me know in the comments. As always, like, favourite, save and share. I'll appreciate it for more boxing content. Hit that follow button. Peace out.